sincere apologies for not being able to come yesterday. I kindly bear with me. I was hoping that Professor Zakar will actually say, since you missed the time, so no opportunity, but he's kind enough to do it. I'm going to say a few things telegraphically, given the time constraint. Israel presents itself as an island of democracy, and it prides itself to be democracy. You cannot find any corresponding example in the Middle East. The opposition is either in exile or in the heavens. So you don't see them in the streets. This is the general one. And the democracy is also a key component of Israel's identification with the West, especially Europe, as well as India. And in spite of this, Israel is a diverse society. We can talk about Jewish and non-Jewish, which is the most visible one. But if you look at even within the Jewish, there are various trends and strands of it. So it's a diverse society. And therefore, if you look at Israeli self-identity, it defines itself liberal, democratic, and secular in the legal sense. You only have religion in terms of personal laws. Otherwise, religion doesn't come in public discourse. It doesn't have a written constitution. It is one of those countries where constitution could not be written because there was no internal consensus. It's not like Britain, it's by choice. Here, it's a compulsion. And what Israel has is basic law, which they hope that eventually it will be assembled together at some point of time and presented as a constitution. So therefore, a constitution in Israel is a work in progress. We all know that to be a democracy, you need a legislative, executive, and the judiciary. And that is where the problem comes, because you need to balance the three. If you look at the 75 years of Israel's history, they had 25 elections, there are 37 governments, and out of them, only 2 governments completed the 4 full year in office. Between 2019 September and November last year, Israel had 4 elections. That tells you the fragility of the democratic system. And no party has ever secured a simple majority of 61 seats. Which means you always have to coexist with a wide variety of parties, interests, and identities. Which means politicians are politicians. For them, winning is everything. So if this is the kind of situation, you need a strong judiciary so that they don't cross limits. Otherwise, if winning is only criteria, people can do anything they want. That is the context in which the reforms in the judiciary becomes important. Normally, when you understand the term reform, you always think it's a progressive step. In the Israeli case, it's a negative. It's going backwards. And the right-wing accusation is the judiciary in Israel is liberal as well as left-wing. Our voice are never heard in the judiciary. And that is largely because the judiciary is able to overturn a number of legal actions on the basis of equality. It happened to the Labour government, it happened to the Likud government. Labour was willing to put up with this left wing. Likud feels that no, you are undermining the popular mandate. It is my responsibility as an elected member to formulate a policy. Who are you to overrule it? And that is what they did want. We want to change the process of selecting the judge. There is a format where it has representation from the parliament, public figures, and the law fraternity. The existing coalition of this committee is in favor of legal liberals. They want to change it in terms of politicians. They want the composition of the committee more reflecting the prevailing government. That is, politicians should be the majority and the judges and the lawyers should be minority in the committee. Therefore, my preferential person or person who reflects my ideology will be the judges at all levels. That's the first issue. The second issue is, even though Israel does not have a constitution, the judiciary is able to undermine and overrule the ability of the government to appoint ministers. Legally, there was no law preventing a person accused of corruption from holding office, because the politicians are not ready to do that. So therefore, the Supreme Court often comes up and says, this person is corrupt, there is a charges against him, therefore, it is untenable for him to continue as a minister. The classic example is Arya Deri. Arya Deri was an internal affairs interior minister, and he had a battle with the legal system from 1993. He actually went to jail for corruption charges. He spent about 7 years in jail, came back, and again he's accused of corruption. Netanyahu put him as a minister. Within a few weeks, the Supreme Court said, no, he's accused of corruption, which is unacceptable. Therefore, his position in the cabinet cannot be sustained. But on legal terms, they did not do the same argument for the Prime Minister. That's a different story. But the question is, the support of Arya Deri is very critical for Netanyahu. So therefore, the parties of this party say, unless Deri comes, we will not accept any of it. So it is in that coalition context you have this problem. This is not acceptable to a large majority of the population. And for that, if you look at all these arguments, the essence of Judaism is law is supreme. Nobody is above law. If you read the 10 Commandments, that is a basic thing. Your society has to live by certain laws, frameworks, and constraints. If you leave everything, then you don't need a society. That is the essence of 10 Commandments. And therefore they are saying, the historical sense, whether before the state or after the state, no one is above law. That is why, if you look at the last 20 years, the former president, the former prime minister, former finance minister, former security minister, they're all in jail. You can say that what kind of country it is, you'll find all the former ministers in jail. But that also tells you something. Which country can actually say a person is convicted for the crimes he did. So therefore, that is the essence of Judaism. For a large number of people, the kind of reforms Netanyahu is trying to do is undermining the very essence of Judaism. That's the context. What is happening? Last 38 weeks, the strikes were going on. It's peaceful, largely happening across. They are rallying around the Israeli flag. And if you look at them, what are they achieving? Both the sides are reasonably tough. They're not giving up. The government is not given up. The opposition has not given up. Netanyahu tried to depict them as anti-Zionist, anti-Semite, American agents, or friends of Iran. He tried everything, but none of them stuck. And at the same time, they are not trying to use extra constitutional means to muscle them. Israel is, the security state. There is enormous censorship. There are enormous security services. In spite of everything, Netanyahu doesn't like it because all the roads and main highways and everything is clogged, but the people are still protesting and there is no. That tells you something. Democracy is not about giving a lecture. It's what you talk. You have to fight for the principle you consider very close. And you have to do that within the frames of democracy. That is why if you look at it, 38 weeks, day after their protests are going on, without anyone crossing the red line. I think that is where the issue stands up. That is, no matter what you do, I need to express my protest. And that also tells you how much you are committed to the cause. And democracy, we normally can go and vote an election. That's the end of the story. Can you ask me a question? What is the relevant final word? What is the relevance to this talk and the European Union? One way is doing a lot of recall to link it to. And for me, it's the challenge every Israeli is going. What is my model? Is the Middle East, where the judiciary is merely an extension of a government, is it my model? Or the European roots of the founders, who committed to judicial independence and autonomy, which is the model? Is model is Europe, or from that the ideas came, or the Middle East, judiciary is another branch of the government? I think that is a real question facing the Israelis. That is what the contest is taking. Thank you very much.